please?
Hey, welcome to the podcast. This is the Surge Effect, and this podcast, well, it'll probably have an effect on you. Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Surge Effect. Today's episode of the Surge Effect, we are going to be talking a little bit about Mark Carney. Now, when you get somebody in your that's voted into your government, they should be doing what's best for you, what's best for the people of that country. And you have to ask yourself, is Mark Carney doing what's best for Canada, or is he hurting the people of Canada? Questions, questions, questions. These are the questions that you have to ask yourself. I'm going to play you some videos today, and once again, you can make up your own mind whether or not you're, all for it or kind of against it. All right, so let's get started. The first video is just going to be in from our house, People's House. Question that was asked of Mark Carney. And this is one of the MPs asking a question.
The Harper government saw the need for an independent parliamentary fiscal watchdog, and boy, were they right. In his budget brief last week, the PBO reminded the Prime Minister of the Liberals' own words just last November, that reducing the federal debt-to-GDP ratio over the medium term is key not only for fiscal sustainability, but also to preserve Canada's AAA credit rating. Well, less than a year later, and the alarm bells are ringing. How many more times does this Prime Minister need to be reminded to rein in his spending of taxpayers' dollars?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, earlier today in this chamber, the member for Calgary-Midnapore said the Prime Minister's loyalty was not to Canada or to Canadians. That is incorrect. I would invite her to retract that statement at this very
Listen to them.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Midnapore may continue, please. Continue.
This Prime Minister's loyalties are to Brookfield.
Good for her. Good for her. Saying that in the House. Now, you may or may not believe what she's just said, but I'm going to show you a clip here. This is Carney meeting just a few days ago, November 19th, in the United Emirates. And listen to this. This is from Moose and the Loose. Love Moose and the Loose. Great podcast out of BC.
Here's Carney shaking more hands. Grip and grin. You're about to see how ridiculous this situation is, as well as the next one when we get to committee. So note the date, November 19th, 2025. Mark Carney lands in UAE. And who was there just a week ago? It's Bruce Flatt, CEO of Brookfield Asset Management. Khalid bin Mohammed bin Zayed meets with executive management delegation from Brookfield Corporation. There he is, Bruce Flatt. Oh, I recognize that guy too. That's a Brookfield guy. More Bruce Flatt. More Bruce Flatt. And you see the date here, November 13th. They're there just 6 days ago. And now Mark Carney showing up at the exact same place. Give me a break. We are not dumb. We know what you guys are doing. We're going to really pay attention to what deal comes out of this, because I'm sure there is some sort of deal, because it's going to benefit Brookfield.
So there you go. 6 days prior to Mark Carney being in the UAE, people from Brookfield were there 6 days prior to him showing up. So here's another little clip, and this is from the People's House. And everyone in Canada is expected to pay taxes. We're all expected to pay our taxes, and all the corporations are expected to pay taxes. But for some reason, Mark Carney's Brookfield, they don't seem to want to pay taxes. They have over $6 billion tucked away in Bermuda because it's a tax haven. You don't believe me? Listen to what this guy says in the People's House.
The Honourable Member for Riding Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, new information has once again exposed the Prime Minister's company, Brookfield, as Canada's biggest tax dodger. Experts have revealed that Brookfield avoided paying more than $6.5 billion in Canadian taxes over 5 years by funneling profits through offshore tax havens in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands. As chair of Brookfield, The Prime Minister personally set up 3 multi-billion-dollar investment funds registered offshore. Let's not forget, the Prime Minister still stands to personally benefit from these offshore funds through future bonus payments. While the Prime Minister lectures middle-class Canadians about paying their fair share, his company is dodging billions in tax dollars that could be supporting Canadian services like healthcare. This is the height of hypocrisy. Canadians deserve a Prime Minister who puts the country first, not his personal bank account.
Exactly. But for some reason, everyone thinks it's cool that he can do that he's going to get away with it and hide over $6 billion he doesn't have to pay tax on to the Canadian people. All right, so here he is over in the United Emirates, November 21st. He literally just dropped this bomb this morning about Canada pensions. Canadians' pensions. Listen and listen close.
Speaking for Canada, we're AAA rated. We're fiscally disciplined, financially resilient, and we are anchored in the rule of law. Over the next year, we will take significant measures to elevate our relationship. The Minister of Finance will lead a delegation of Canada's pension funds, $2 trillion of capital, which almost begins to sound significant in the UAE. Relationship.
Hold on. He just said over $2 trillion Canadian pension fund. Listen up again.
The Minister of Finance will lead a delegation of Canada's pension funds, $2 trillion of capital, which almost begins to sound significant in the UAE. $2 trillion in capital. And he has a little smile at the end for everyone. This just occurred. I'm sure that somebody has something to say about Canadian pension funds to the tune of $2 trillion. It's insane. So here's some more money that Carney wants to give away, and this was in our house the other day as well. $500 million to Europe. Listen closely.
Well, a Prime Minister who describes himself as a European is giving $500 million to the European Space Agency to create good jobs in Europe. And it gets worse because the Harwell Science and Innovation Campus, where the European Space Agency is located in the UK, is 50% owned by Brookfield. Rather than focusing on lining the pockets of Brookfield and not ripping off Canadian workers, why don't they invest in Canada?
Unfortunately, the other side doesn't recognize the key role that space investments play in our country and our national innovation, especially in a critical year for space for Canada, where we're sending not one but 2 astronauts into space. This is an incredibly exciting time for Canada and Canadians to be inspired by the potential of space and space in our economy, and I hope the other side reconsiders their opposition to this.
Incredibly exciting time if you're a shareholder in Brookfield right now, let me tell you.
Exactly.
With all the slimy contracts that these guys are giving to companies affiliated with Brookfield. Meanwhile, we have 2.2 million Canadians lining up at food banks. Meanwhile, we have a 6.9% unemployment rate. And what do they decide to do? Invest $500 million to give jobs to Europe. How is the priority of this government to give jobs to Europeans when there's a 6.9% unemployment in Canada and 2.2 million people using a food bank? Justify that.
You know,
Justify
when it
that.
comes to the most innovative things that we can do as a country, we often do them together and with other countries. So, for instance, a former member of this House, a former minister in this former government, the Honourable late Mark Garneau, he went on an American spacecraft, and there was a key piece of Canadian technology that was deployed as part of that, the Canadarm, a piece of technology on which we should all be proud on both sides of this House. So as we continue to cooperate with our European partners on this, let's see the bigger picture and see how the benefits can come to Canada with this investment.
The Honourable Member.
I wanted to play that in its entirety because I just wanted to hear his full answer in regards to that question that he never answered. This happens a lot in the People's House. They are asked a question and they never answer the question. All right, so here's a clip that I'm sure that Mark Carney probably thought would never, ever surface, but this is a real beaut. Listen closely to what these guys have to say in regards to bankers.
For those who don't follow central banking, point of context, which I belong to the world's tightest Mutual Admiration Society, which is central bank governors. So everything that my colleagues have done and are doing at present is right. And so nothing I say should be, and for their circumstance, given their policy options.
A roughly lunatic criminal who was the central bank governor of Russia in the early 90s, who was like creating hyperinflation, and they were like stealing money from the bank, and they were money laundering. And if you ask like all the other central bankers, oh, Victor's a fantastic guy. We really enjoy meeting him in Basel.
Look at Carney laughing.
He's really great. He's the life of the party in Basel. So what Mark says about their mutual loyalty, they're much more loyal to each other than they are to their countries. I mean, understand that when
See, look,
it's like
Carney's laughing as well. Carney's laughing as well. Carney's laughing as well. Listen to what he just said again, in case you missed it. While they're laughing, listen to what he says.
I mean, understand mutual loyalty. They're much more loyal to each other than they are to their countries. I mean, understand that when it's
there they
like
go.
You're
so they are much more loyal to each other as bankers than they are to their countries. You literally heard that guy say that, and Carney laughed at it. You can't make this shit up, folks. You just can't. You can't make it up. So Carney once said, if you want to judge how he governs and how he does stuff, to judge him by the food pricing. That's another thing, right? Food prices. When you go to the store, how's your food prices? I know that I just went the other day. I grabbed a couple items. It was like $80. Crazy town. My wife and I go a lot with each other, or sometimes we go separately, but we know pricing. You have to in this day and age. And we've seen things creep up. The price of beef in Canada is off the rails. Here we go. Listen to this.
Well, we begin this hour with breaking news on the cost of living crisis. A new report just into our newsroom is revealing how much more Canadians are paying for food. Well, if this feels familiar to you, you're not alone. Walk in the aisles of your local grocery store, carefully picking produce and trying to stick to a budget. But you can't escape the high price pinch. You might be feeling like you're shelling out hundreds of dollars more for food than last year. And it turns out you're right.
Ridiculous.
This is some serious sticker shock right here. Canada's Food Price Report 2025 estimates the average family of four will spend more than $800 more on food this.
The average family of four will spend $800 more average compared to 2024. So how's Carney doing on food?
Year in comparison to what they spent in 2024. And the receipts don't end there. Mark Carcassol is on the story for us, and I know you've been digging into some of the big findings.
So this goes on and on and on. That was a story that was posted on CBC. So, do you still think that, Carney's for us? Another thing that Carney and the Liberal government is doing to Canada and the Canadian government, the Canadian people, is immigration. Now, people can say whatever they want about immigration, and when people ever bring it up, you're racist and all this other stuff. Far from it. You got to look at the facts, and you got to look at the numbers and what people are going through in a country where immigration is blown way out of proportion. So listen to some of these videos I'm going to show you. This is Mario. I've played Mario stuff quite a bit. This guy's awesome as well. He's like Moose and the Loose out in BC. Mario does a great job. And listen what he says about the refugees and an app created by the Liberal government.
Guys, this is massive, and I mean massive breaking news. They are letting refugees come into our country by using an app. There's no government intervention. There's no interaction with them. It's all an app. And not only that, 10% of them don't even use it. And it gets worse. They self-declare their security. They're literally relying on them to say, yes, I'm a good person. Don't believe me? Watch this.
So you're saying that a refugee claimant coming to Canada goes to a machine and says, I want to be a refugee in Canada, hits a button and they're in the country? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's not a machine, it's an application.
It's
So
an
the
app,
one-touch system,
not
they're
a
given
machine.
instructions on how to use that. That connects directly with IRCC, and they're given that documentation to complete on their own once they're in the country. We're not doing that.
So basically, they take out their phone, theoretically, and tap it a few times, and they are now in the country as a refugee,
just like that,
accepted by our country.
Yes, we get some basic data from them, and again, we do the biometrics. Beyond that, they're doing that on their own.
As the president of the CBSA, the Canada Border Services Agency, but wait, watch what else he has to say.
So inadmissibility is deemed later on in the process. Again, our goal at the border is to build the file to be able to, identify non-genuine claims, right? And right now, we're kind of relying on people to self-declare that they're a non-genuine claim.
You want to see what these refugee claimants get? One vision test per year, one pair of sunglasses or contact lens every 2 years, urgent dental care, emergency dental exams, dental x-rays, tooth removals, dentures, psychological counseling, including services from registered healthcare specialists, nursing visits, emergency ambulance, medical devices and supplies, including oxygen equipment, mobility aids, and diabetic supplies. They get all that
so
when they self-declare.
You get all that when you're self-declaring that everything's good, everything's kosher, and and that was right from a government website that Mario was reading from. And if you don't believe that, this was at committee where it was asked a question to the minister that's actually in charge of it. Listen to this.
In fiscal year 24-25 alone, you provided health care coverage for 623,365 beneficiaries, including 440,000 asylum claimants with expenses of $900 million. Does the department break down the number of people based on the groups listed on the website? For example, how many asylum claimants, how many detainees, how many individuals granted eligibility at the minister's discretion? Is there a breakdown?
Are you asking about eligibility for, I'm not sure how you're using the term eligibility there.
Well, I'm looking for a breakdown. We've got these large numbers. A lot of money is being spent on health care. I would like to know how many the minister, at her discretion, allowed this health care. I'd like to know how many asylum claimants, how many detainees.
I can tell you of that number, about 440,537 are in fact asylum claimants. However, as you will note, just because you're an asylum claimant, it doesn't mean that there's been a determination of whether or not it is a founded claim. So.
Yeah, I actually said that number, but that's okay. Do you not think it's in Canadians' interest and the best interest of the federal government to know what kind of people are entering into this country and receiving potentially better health care than the Canadians who are funding the program?
They're receiving better health care than the Canadians that are funding the program.
I'm not sure I would describe it as better health care.
I sure would. When I look at the amount of the billing that doctors are billing to that department at 5 times the rate, they are seeing doctors quicker than average Canadians.
5 times the rate. They see doctors quicker than Canadians. More times. So that's right in council, right at committee. That's right from the horse's mouth. And I'm going to play another video here for you about the refugee claimants. And this is another one.
Was done there. That's changed to a system that's called One Touch. So essentially, we get tombstone data. We do some biometrics. And the claimant is then allowed into the country to complete their security screening and such on their own through the One Touch system. They have, I believe it's 45 days to submit that. Meaning,
the One Touch
in
system.
Essence, to speed things up, because we are short-staffed, we're allowing people into the country without first doing that security screening.
Okay, hold on a second here. So you're saying that a refugee claimant coming to Canada goes to a machine and says, I want to be a refugee in Canada, hits a button, and
they're in the country. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's not a machine, it's an application. So the
Oh.
one-touch system, they're given instructions on how to use that. That connects directly with IRCC, and they're given that documentation to complete on their own once they're in the country. We're not doing that
So
up
basically,
front with them
they
anymore.
take out their phone, theoretically, and they tap it a few times, and they are now in the country as a refugee accepted by our country.
Yes, we get some basic data from them, and again, we do the biometrics. Beyond that, they're doing that on their own, yes.
So no human interaction. Your members do not ask any questions, don't confirm anything. It's a free-for-all into the country that way?
Very little. I don't know if I'd use the term free-for-all, but for the most part, it's self-declaration on the claimant's part, yes.
Wow, do you believe this? That was posted by Table Salt. Table Salt does a great job as well. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable, folks, what is going on in our country when it comes to this type of behavior for the government just allowing refugees just to grab their phone, put it in an app, and do everything themselves without human interaction. Boom, you're in the country. It's crazy. So here's another one about the $900 million going to healthcare to the refugees. Here we go.
So this program, the $900 million program, includes pharmaceuticals and vision care and mental health counseling and assistive devices and physiotherapy and occupational speech therapy and all sorts of things that seniors in Kitchener do not get unless they have supplemental health coverage.
Seniors in Kitchener don't even get this. Kitchener, Ontario.
I asked you, if somebody's refugee claim is denied, do they continue to get all of this coverage? And you said no. Here I have your website. It says, as a refugee claimant, you'll get IFHP coverage if your claim for refugee protection has been rejected by the IRB. So did you lie to the committee, or is your website lying?
Excuse me?
I said, did you lie to the committee, or is your website lying?
Be careful with the language, Mr. Strauss.
Did you
Oh, be careful. Can't call them liars. So you have to say mistruths or something like that. Here we go.
mislead the committee, or is the website misleading?
Not in the job of doing that. Thank you very much. It's not something that is in my dictionary either. So what I said is the interim federal health program provides temporary health care coverage to address urgent and essential medical needs for refugees and asylum claimants while they wait to become eligible for provincial and territorial health insurance plans. And
then I asked, if your refugee claim is denied, do you continue to receive coverage? And here your website says you continue to receive coverage if your claim is denied, if your refugee claim is denied by IRB.
I said they continue to receive claims until all the refugee process is concluded.
So what part of the process comes after the claim being denied by IRB?
Well, again, it's the IRB that takes care of that. There is a process, and there is a legal process.
So I'm to understand that you, as the minister who looks after this interim federal health program, who is the Minister of Refugees, doesn't know what part of the process comes after the IRB denying your refugee claim?
Well, again, if I put the chapeau on my hat when I was a lawyer, people can appeal, or there could be other considerations. So again, this is not
Thank you. I'd like to yield my time over to Dr.
Isn't that something? Bunch of word salad, right? Even after their claim has been declined or denied, they still receive benefits. This is absolutely insane. But this is what goes on in committee, folks. This is what actually goes on in committee all the time. And I watch a lot of committees, and it's ridiculous. They try to ask questions, and the Liberals, point of order, and they waste so much time. It's insane. But this is what goes on, and this is our tax dollars being spent. So here's what Pierre Poilievre had to say in regards to Mark Carney, because Mark Carney said, of course, you can judge him by the prices of food. And Mark Carney also said that he was the best negotiator, the best deal guy to take down Trump and to get us the best deal, right? Tariffs and all that stuff. Well, tariffs have been around for hundreds of years. I covered that on another podcast, but that's for another day. So listen to what Pierre says.
Canadians are cash-strapped and needed a break. Instead, the Prime Minister gave them the costliest budget in Canadian history and put it all on the national credit card. The Parliamentary Budget Officer revealed the Prime Minister doubled Trudeau's deficits, added $16 billion more to the debt than he promised, is increasing the debt-to-GDP ratio, breaking another promise. $78 billion of additional debt works out to about $5,000 for every single cash-strapped family in this country. How does the Prime Minister expect single moms and seniors and small business people who can't pay their bills to pay another $5 grand for his inflation?
Mr. Speaker, we will take no lessons from the Conservatives.
That's all that guy has. That's all he has.
Yesterday, under this leader, they voted against investment in infrastructure. Under this leader, they voted against investment in housing. Under this Conservative leader, they voted against productivity and innovation in our country. Under this leader, they voted against investment in our sovereignty, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we'll build a strong Canada, we'll empower Canadians, and we'll protect our sovereignty because we believe in Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think anybody's been able to cram that many slogans into one answer, and this is coming from me. This is coming from me.
Good self-deprecating humor there by Pierre, saying, you know, all those slogans, because they always say that he's a big slogan guy, and like he just said, that this is coming from me. Of course, slamming the finance guru about his slogans.
Let's take housing. He says they're spending billions of dollars more on housing. The results are out today. Housing starts down 17% year over year. Where we need the most in Toronto, down 42% year over year. Vancouver, 36% year over year. Ontario, down 35%. And BC, down 22%. Why is it that the more Liberals spend, the less that we can build?
With
the Prime Minister billing millions of dollars for his high-flying trips around the world, 28 trips, 150,000 kilometers. Now is the time for a scorecard. The Americans have increased tariffs on Canadian autos, aluminum, steel, and lumber. The Indians have increased tariff on our peas. The Chinese increased it on our farmers, our fish harvesters. Now, allow me to introduce a comprehensive list of all the tariffs the Prime Minister has successfully had reduced on Canada.
Pierre's holding up a blank piece of paper because that's how many deals that Carney, the big deal maker, has picked up to all the places that he's traveled 4 times around the globe, basically for his traveling time. 0. Big fat 0. You know why? Because the Canadian people fell for the oldest trick in the book, fear. They fell into the big pot of fear from Carney and the Liberal Party. So here's what Pierre Poilievre says about Mark Carney and his elbows up. I'm going to finish off this podcast with this last video. Here we go.
I think we can now conclude that Mark Carney's entire elbows up campaign was a gigantic fraud. He didn't mean a word of it. His wife's firm was putting out memos in the middle of the campaign saying, don't worry about the Liberals promising to counter tariff and be tough on the U.S. They don't really mean it. They won't really do it. He was quietly removing the tariffs while going to campaign rallies promising to put them back on. He told the president in a phone call, I don't mean all that stuff I'm saying about you. So it means he's two-faced. And since the election has happened, he's done exactly the opposite of everything he promised. And I should be clear, this was not a promise. This was the promise he ran on in the election. It was the only thing that got him elected. He said, ignore 10 years of rising food prices, housing costs, out-of-control immigration and crime, because I'm the only guy who can negotiate with the Americans. And that turned out to be a gigantic fraud. So the entire foundation of Mark Carney's election campaign was not only a broken promise, it was a fraud for which thousands of Canadians are paying today with lost jobs. We cannot trust anything that Mark Carney says. And then there's this $1 trillion.
That was the last little clip from Pierre Poilievre. That's it for today's podcast. I'll let you make your own decision what you just saw there. But hey, listen, I go by the old adage that either people are out to help you or they're out to hurt you. The people that the Canadian people voted into power are they doing what's best for you, or are they doing what's best for them? Good question, right? So, something to think about. Anyway, listen, that's today's podcast, everyone. Please like and subscribe. Please share. Please pass around any little clips. I do a bunch of shorts as well. I always post my shorts when I do a full clip. Gives you an idea what's in the video. And, spread the word around, and it's much appreciated. I try to do like one podcast a week. I get really super busy doing so many other things. I'd like to do more, but some things just stick in your craw, and this is one of them. This is with Liberals spending our hard-earned tax dollars, and they're sending them overseas, and they're not helping out our veterans, our homeless, and our people that are having a tough go here in this country. And that's what they need to do. And that's it. Until next time, everyone, have yourself a great day. Cheers.